Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, flying solo. So the Warriors, they beat the Charlotte Hornets 110-105 at Chase Center. They are now 17-18, 10th place in the Western Conference, 6 games out of the first spot and only 2 games out of the 6th spot, which would keep them out of the play-in. But again, of course, it's way too early to pay attention to seeding. You just want to make sure that they're in range. And this was a good game for the Warriors in the sense that they needed to learn. They needed to learn how to win a game like this. Not all of the guys, right? Of course, Klay, Draymond, they know this stuff. But guys like Jordan Poole, guys like Jonathan Kuminga, the two-way guys, and then, all the young dudes, Wiseman, Moody, whomever was out there on the court. And I got to start off with Jonathan Kuminga. About a month ago, right, like that Dallas game, if you go back into the archives of this podcast, you'll see that I started talking about how things just started clicking with him. He wasn't thinking the game, and he was just reacting. He wasn't scared. He wasn't worried about making the wrong play. He never looked confused anymore. And he's just trying to make winning plays, right? He's not trying to put up numbers. He's not trying to launch 5 3-pointers in his time on the court. He's trying to help the team win. And when all this stuff started clicking for him, everything just opened up. Every action, every move he makes on the court is an attempt to try to help the team win, instead of like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go, so I'm just going to go do something. Or I got the ball and I'm wide open with 22 seconds on the shot clock and I'm just going to shoot it, So this is just another sign that he's becoming more and more of a winning player. I won't be surprised if he ends up in a lot of Steve Kerr's closing game lineups like he did tonight, right? Because the closing lineup is always going to be, when healthy, Steph, Klay, Draymond, Wiggins. And then that 5th spot is most likely going to be either Jordan Poole or Jonathan Kuminga, in my opinion, unless one of them is having a terrible game. You could also put Kevon Looney in the mix in that closing lineup at points, just when you need somebody who has that experience and that defensive size in the middle and the rebounding and all that stuff. But in terms of like an up and down athletic team that can score, defend, rebound, all that stuff, Kuminga could sneak in there. In a lot of ways, he could do some of the stuff that Andre Iguodala did. Maybe not as much on-ball decision-making, but he'll get better with that as the season goes along. Like I said, he was doing a lot of that stuff in Summer League and in the preseason, but then he realized he needed to back off some of that and then just run the offense, let the game come to him. And that's the thing with this Warriors scheme, right? It's about really, really letting the game come to you. And he's doing it. I've talked about how he's such a strong guy and he's just a quick jumper. In the 4th quarter, when he just basically ripped the ball away from PJ Washington, Klay missed the 3-pointer, but then on the way back, I believe it was LaMelo Ball missed a shot, and then Kuminga went up between LaMelo Ball and Plumlee and just snagged the ball out of the air. The other 2 dudes, Ball and Plumlee, they looked like they were kind of in slow motion because Kuminga got up there so quickly, And then that play that really, really sealed it was Poole running some clock and then driving and then finding Jonathan Kuminga in the dunker spot. That was a thing of beauty. He timed it perfectly, and Poole kind of gave a little no-look shovel pass. And again, there were a couple guys there. It was Ball and Plumlee again. Ball went to try to steal the ball, and then Plumlee tried to contest the dunk. But with someone like Kuminga, you're not going to get that. You're either going to get the dunk, or he's going to get the dunk, or he's going to get fouled, or both. He didn't get fouled, but because he gets up there so quickly and he gets up so high that like you're not going to get the ball, right? He's not like reaching up, straining to get the ball over the rim. where you can just like pop a ball out of his hands. He's like holding it like close to his head and just rising up and throwing it down. So, you love to see it. Kuminga, 22 minutes, 6 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from the line, 5 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, 14 points. And he played solid defense. You love to see that because I've talked about how Kuminga definitely rises up to the challenge on both ends of the court. If you don't have Gary Payton II, then you can put a 6'7", 6'8" Jonathan Kuminga on a 6'7" LaMelo Ball. He's stronger than him. He can move quickly laterally, and he's athletic as hell. And so love to see that. LaMelo Ball only shot 7 for 25, had 21 points. Some of that is due to Kuminga bugging him. And sure, you might get beat, but it's about making it as hard as possible on talented offensive players to get to their spots, to do what they like to do on the court. So Jonathan Kuminga, love to see it. He really, really was the one who kind of stepped up towards the end of the game and gave the Warriors that extra oomph, that extra something to put them over the top, because I've said this team's going to live and die with Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson while Steph and Wiggins are out. And you saw that tonight, right? Like Poole, props to him. He was aggressive. He was putting pressure on the Charlotte defense, and 24 points, only shot 1 for 7 from 3, but was 5 for 6 from the line, 6 assists, and was constantly keeping the Hornets defense honest. And then Klay Thompson, he started off hot. He hit his first 3 shots, which were all threes. He ended the first quarter with 4 threes. Then he went cold. He ended up with 29 points, but he went cold, right? And like I said, you are going to live and die with these guys. And when they went cold, you kind of died with them for a little bit until they brought it back and closed it out. But props to Klay, because I've talked about how if he's not hitting his shot, he doesn't really do much else. But lately in the past week, he's been rebounding more. He had 5 boards and 4 assists in this one, plus 11, the highest plus minus on the night for any Warriors player. And he was also 4 for 5 from the line. So he got to the line 5 times, which is a lot for that dude. And then Donte DiVincenzo, again, in the starting lineup, 0 for 4 from 3. But you definitely felt his presence on the court on both ends. 0 points, but he had 9 boards and 7 assists and a steal. And, I'll take that. I'll take that. I would have loved if he had hit a shot or two, but just him and the way he can play both guard spots, the way he can, he's a solid backup starter. And again, not to knock Gary Payton II, but if this was that team from last year, Gary Payton II wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things that Donte DiVincenzo does as a starter, as a playmaker, as a guy who can run the offense, right? Like Gary Payton II was gifted as a crazy athletic dude, as an intense defender. But some of the stuff DiVincenzo does is just so much more on the offensive end, right? Again, not knocking GP2, but just for those folks, I guess this is mostly for those folks who over the summer were really, really up in arms about losing Gary Payton II. And that was a big loss. But the Donte DiVincenzo signing, they were like shrugging their shoulders at it. But like, I was like, yo, he's a better all around player. Again, like younger and didn't have to go through the G League and all that other stuff. So love GP2, but very, very happy with DiVincenzo and how he's been evolving. I mean, this kind of stretch, right? Like when Steph went out, I talked about it before the road trip finished. It was like, this is going to be pretty ugly for a while. So what you want during this stretch when both Wiggins and Steph are out is, sure, yes, obviously to win games, but to see the young guys, the new guys grow and become more involved in winning games and taking more ownership and being more of leaders on the team in that respect. And you can see that with Kuminga for sure. You can see that with Donte DiVincenzo. And I've talked about how those are, to me, the 7 and 8 guys in your rotation, even though, Lamb and Ty Jerome are mixed in there. Another guy is like James Wiseman, right? He had some really, really good moments. He had some, iffy moments here and there, but it's about the long haul, the progress, and seeing him get more comfortable, to get some chemistry. I mean, there was that one drive by Kuminga where he dished it to Wiseman, and it reminded me how in the preseason, when those guys played together, I was like, oh, those guys can definitely play together. And it's good that Kuminga looks for him. For a second, I let myself imagine a future when those two are just like a dominant front court combo of crazy athleticism and defensive/offensive ability, but don't want to get too far ahead of myself. When they're on the court, sometimes it gets a little crowded in the paint, but this is all just a part of how it goes. I had talked about how in this game, Wiseman was up for an opportunity. He had an opportunity to atone for the Charlotte game in Charlotte at the beginning of that 0-5 road trip at the start of the season. And, he had gotten so pushed around in that one, especially by Nick Richards, their backup center. I believe that dude is injured because Mark Williams, their rookie, who's pretty much the same size as James Wiseman, they got a lot of minutes against each other. And it was clear to me that overall, Wiseman is more athletic, but he got pushed by Williams a few times. Overall, though, I'm happy seeing Wiseman. He's more aware on defense and also on offense, right? I mean, he had that nice lefty layup on the pick and roll that Klay called him out for. Wiseman was posting up and Klay waved to him to send him a screen, and he just pick and rolled it. And when he slipped to the basket, Klay gave him a bounce pass, and Wiseman just rose up from pretty far away and between two shorter Hornets players and just glided in soft off the glass. So I was like, dang, that's skill, right? That is a skill from a big man that you don't see that often. So, Wiseman played 10 minutes, 4 for 7 from the field, 2 boards, 1 assist, 8 points, +1. It's not bad. That's well within the range of the 8 to 12 to 15 minutes that eventually I would like to see him see as the season moves forward. And if he can keep progressing, again, he's stringing together some solid performances where he does make mistakes, but he's showing some of the things that he can do. And it's all about learning and repetition and understanding and being out there on the floor and gaining those minutes. And, it's cool to see, at least for me, when I look at him on the bench, he looks like he's a part of the team. Of course, he's in uniform like everybody else, but there have been times, especially when he was benched earlier in the season, where he just kind of looked like he was off to the side, but now he's part of the team. He's celebrating with the team. And that, to me, if you're just looking for signs, the eye test of observing someone and like their mood and everything, then this is a positive. Again, if you're a James Wiseman hater, then, hey, I'll just say to you, he looked good. Maybe a team would trade for him. I don't want that, but that's for you guys who just want Wiseman gone. That play where Poole dished it to Kuminga. I mean, I just had to flash back to that first G League game. I believe it was March of 2021, where the Santa Cruz Warriors with Jordan Poole and Nico Mannion and Jeremy Lin played against the G League Ignite against Jalen Green and Jonathan Kuminga. And there was a play where Poole drove to the basket and Kuminga just swatted the hell out of him. It was like the biggest block I'd seen in a long time. He just took off with his athleticism. It was huge, right? If you haven't seen it, go look it up because it's crazy. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. And it's cool to me that they're now on the same team and now they're combining for plays like that. You know, I'd like to think that these, the kids are all right. There were stretches where uh, Poole, Moody, Wiseman, Kuminga were on the court together. And obviously, I love the vets, but it's just like an encouraging sign that they can be out there and, produce positive results. And that's what you're looking for. The Charlotte Hornets are not good. They're 9-25 now. And the Warriors, they should smack this team, and they shouldn't have let the rope slip and let them in. But unlike the game at the beginning of the season where they were more lifeless, the Warriors were, they closed this one out. And that's a big step in the development of this team's overall mojo and in the development of the guys who were a big part of that. Not just the vets, but the Pools, the Kumingas, and, Donte DiVincenzo, who's of course a little bit older, but he's still new to the team. So I hope that this can continue. They get the Jazz on Wednesday at Chase Center back to back. So most likely, I'm guessing Klay, because no one's ever said anything different. He's not going to play. But this is another chance for redemption, right? They smoked that game just a couple of weeks ago where they had it locked up, but a series of end of game gaffes by Poole, Klay, etc., coughed that one up. That's one I'm sure they would love to have. I'm guessing I haven't heard anybody being hurt in this one, so Klay is most likely the only one who's going to sit. And I would be surprised if the Warriors don't come out very, very energetic for that one, because when you're looking for the motivation that you get from a Celtics game or a Grizzlies game, this one, this one against the Jazz, because you had the altercation between Kuminga and Jordan Clarkson, that fiery exchange, and then you had this loss where you feel like you should have won. So if these guys are the competitors we know them to be, then it should be a good one. But fingers crossed, right? Because again, this is 2 wins in a row. We've seen this team kind of show us something and then kind of fall back a little bit. But this is the stretch. Like I've said, this is the stretch. So an 8-game homestand, they are 2-0, and the rest of them are definitely games they can go out and get. I mean, again, rehashing it, it's Utah and then Portland and then Atlanta, Detroit, Orlando, and then Phoenix. That Phoenix game, if my math is correct, at the end of this road trip on January 10th is the 41st game of the season. It is the exact halfway mark of the season. And so it'll tell us a lot by the end of this homestand, not just like how they look, but what their record is at 41 games. So, I feel good. A lot of the things that we've seen so far, it's like, the young guys are starting to gain a little bit more confidence. At least I'm getting a little bit more confident in them. And they look like they can actually really, really, really give you minutes. Like, I don't want to be short on Moses Moody. He was out there 13 minutes, 2 for 5 from the field, 4 points, 3 boards. I mean, he was solid, he was solid. So these things, you can see the bench starting to take shape, and I don't want to jump ahead, but it's like, okay, we jumped ahead maybe with the young guys at the beginning of the season, but that was based on, Summer League, what we saw from Kuminga and Moody in the playoffs last season and some of the preseason stuff and just having Wiseman healthy. But now it's like Kuminga, check that box. Wiseman, okay. He's not a huge liability out there. And that, again, may not be much to ask for, much to say for a number 2 pick. But, it's a start. It's a huge start because we didn't know what we were getting. We had hoped at the beginning of the season and we had high expectations, but perhaps those were a little unfair. it happens, right? We didn't have much material to work with. I'm hoping for the best. I'm optimistic about the guy. And then Moses Moody, who has looked pretty decent over the past couple of games. And you know that he's still always going to be ready to go. And I just got to say again, Ty Jerome, Anthony Lamb didn't shoot as well. Lamb was only 1 for 7 and Ty Jerome was only 2 for 9. But, literally those two dudes are pretty much playing the Damion Lee and JTA roles. Guys who are solid, don't make too many mistakes, don't really wow you with anything. And if they're hitting shots, it's a bonus. You know what I mean? So again, credit to those guys for being ready and for trying to take advantage of their opportunities and being ready for the moment. So anyway, quick turnaround. Utah game on Wednesday. Good win. And we'll go from there. All right.